When you are ready to begin the presentation, press the Start Broadcast button on the GoToWebinar control panel to allow all attendees to hear you. This system will notify you once you begin your broadcast. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, traders. Welcome to the London session. I hope all of you are doing great. Good morning, Panos. I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. And thanks a lot for the confirmation about audio and video. I hope everybody's doing great. And so let's get started here. Take a look at the market, see what's going on. Good morning, David. So yesterday, if you guys recall, as we were discussing, that we said we need to see the reaction, basically in the pound. And that will let us know with more conviction if we are gonna extend one more leg lower in the dollar, one more leg high in the euro or not. Okay, so we can see that the pound looks to have finished three-wave pullback this morning already. Okay, it pulled back in three waves from the peak of wave W, the 0.618 extension area. Okay, is bouncing from the 100% extension from the peak. Okay, and of course it still can do 7 swings. You never know if a correction is gonna end in 3 swings or it's gonna turn into 11 swings. So it is bouncing from short-term equal legs, as you guys can see. This blue box is representing that, and now this correction could be over, or it could still do 7 swings. Now if we take a look at the euro, okay, and if you guys recall, as we said in the weekend seminar and yesterday in the live sessions, that if because of pound breaking the high of the red W, pound should hold the red X low around 118 or 119 in the pullback and make another extension higher, this low over here on 118, 119, okay? And because of that, we said the euro, after finishing the cycle here, it can pull back in 3 swings, hold this low of 119 and make another leg higher. And we said that only if during the pullback of the pound, if the euro reaction is very strong and it breaks this pivot over here, okay, then only we could see a situation like the euro doing this and then retesting the high when pound makes this final push up to complete 7 swings. This is the push that we are referring to. Okay, but as of right now, we can see that we saw the 3-wave pullback in the pound already, and the euro has barely even moved from the highs. Okay, it's still, of course, we're looking for a 3-wave pullback in the euro, but you can see the pound looks to have done 3 waves. Of course, still can't do 7 swings, but at least it has done 3 swings already. And the euro is like kind of lagging. It's a very slow and shallow pullback so far. And clearly, nothing is threatening the pivot here in the distribution system at this particular moment in time. Of course, if the pound does 7 swings from this high, you never know, it did 3 swings. Okay. So it can do 7 now. For example, if it does 7 and the euro decline extends here and this pivot gives up, of course, then still this thing could have finished over here, the cycle. So you are at that stage. Okay, as Eric was also saying yesterday, I also mentioned that we can't base everything on the pound structure, but like I said, we can see pound has done 3-wave pullback already, and the euro clearly is very slow to react to the downside. So certainly that can mean that in this push higher in the pound, the euro can still make another push higher. At the same time, we do know that the euro pound is calling for another leg lower, which means that now when the pound rallies towards 126.82 equal legs ideally, okay, the euro pound of course needs to trade lower. So the euro obviously is not going to rally the same amount as the pound would, otherwise euro pound will get will stop dead in the tracks over here, and it will not drop. Okay, that's why it's important that, of course, when we get this push up in the pound, okay, the euro it could get sideways, maybe make a marginal new high, okay, like we're showing over here, but certainly you need to be aware of that, and that's why, of course, the euro pound is going to drop, which has opened another extension lower with the break of this low, and can drop all the way down to this area around 84.73 region, okay? So keeping that in mind, I mean, overall everything looks quite clear. And as I said yesterday, that even if the euro didn't make a new high, keep in mind it will not accelerate to the downside, okay, until the pound didn't finish the cycle here, because until then the dollar should remain sideways to lower, okay. Yeah, it could make maybe marginal new lows or not make a very strong decline in the last push of the pound, but it wouldn't be rallying at least as far as this cycle is alive in the pound. Another thing that you need to be aware of about the pound, and why I don't like chasing it over here, and why if anybody bought this three-way pullback, get to break even as soon as possible, because remember, pound loves to play tricks, okay. It loves to do dodgy structures. For example, remember what the pound dollar did over here. And it's not, I'm just not quoting this because it's a recent example, it does it many times. Okay, number one, it has the tendency to just follow its own path, sometimes like disconnect from the dollar group in second dimension, obviously. And secondly, it has a tendency to truncate a lot, okay? So if you take a look here in the red WNX, perfect bounce from the 0.618, 6 swing, makes a marginal new low, okay, to the 0.764 and doesn't reach equal legs, okay? So you see, and it did look perfect over here, but then suddenly what it does, boom, okay? So same thing, you cannot rule out on the other side as well, that let's say, if this X is finished, or if it does 7 swings, it just makes a marginal new high and goes, like this, and ends the cycle, which is why, of course, you cannot get too bearish the dollar at this stage. Keep in mind that it is already extreme from the December peak. It is because of the pound still short of equal legs from this low that we're calling another swing lower in the dollar and higher in the euro. Otherwise, they can be called completed. But of course, as of right now, the price action has not yet confirmed that the cycle ended here already. And by that, I mean that we haven't seen a strong reaction lower here, which will break this pivot in the distribution system to confirm that the cycle from 1-3 low ended already. That's why until then, of course, we would still be looking for one more push higher in the euro, lower in the dollar. And another reason, of course, is that if you take a look here at the dollar sec that we have been pointing out on many occasions, we know the Norwegian krone yesterday did reach equal legs. It was one of the dollar instruments which hadn't reached equal legs from its December peak. It did reach equal legs yesterday, but the dollar sec is still short. Okay, and again, just like the pound dollar, looks like when the dollar sec reaches equal legs over here, you can see. Okay, this is the blue box that we're talking about, equal legs on this December 15 peak. Okay, so that can be the perfect timing for the turn here. Norwegian krone, it did reach equal legs already, so it's in bonus time, but it can extend as like A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, still can make another low. Okay, but it's in the area already. But dollar sec isn't, and the pound isn't. So that's basically, these are the main reasons why. Of course, we're still looking for one more push lower in the dollar, and of course, we have this euro CAD as well. On the plus side, which is looking for a double from the lows, and looking for this equal legs area, and this, until the euro CAD doesn't reach here, again, that means the euro shouldn't be that weak and still can make another push higher. Dollar sec can make one more push lower, and the pound dollar can make another push higher, of course, unless it doesn't truncate, which is, it has a tendency to do it. Sometimes it will do that, and it can just make a marginal new high and then finish the cycle, Okay, but it's not just the pound, like I said, it's a euro CAD as well, okay, which is telling us the same thing, and it's the dollar sec also, which hasn't reached equal legs from this December 15 peak. And if we measure the internals here in the Y leg, we haven't even reached the Z equal W target. And talking about the black Y, okay, we still haven't reached the equal legs. Okay, so looks, again, it will be perfect for it to reach this area and then bounce, and that's when we can get the euro either making a new low or just making a three-way pull back to the 50, 61, 8 fib area of the move from the low. So decent reaction should come, when the cycle ends, when the dollar sec bounces from this area. Of course, that's when the Norwegian krone should bounce. Okay, and then of course the pound dollar either makes a new low or comes back to 123.22 area, and then from there can go to 128, 130 if this pivot gives up. Okay, that's a 4-hour answer that we said we still need, and we should get that hopefully when the cycle from the the January lows and highs ends in the dollar pairs and the dollar index, okay, then by looking at the reaction we will know, or some instrument is going to let us know, okay. So that's the overall idea. Euro short term is doing 3 waves from the peak, okay, and is looking for, ideally, if we break this low of 107.30, we can see 107.11, 106.85 area to finish the B wave, and from there we can make another high in the pair. Keep in mind, it doesn't after that necessarily have to go to C equal A target, okay, because of what I said about the euro pound, remember, because the euro shouldn't rally the same amount as the pound, otherwise the euro pound is not going to drop, okay. So the euro can get sideways as well, or just make a marginal new high like we are showing. So, but that's the short-term path. As far as this pivot, if 119 is holding, we're going to be favoring that path, and that is of course until pound doesn't reach that area or doesn't break this pivot to negate that move. The dollar sec either until doesn't reach this area or doesn't break this pivot at 119 to negate that move, okay. Or the euro CAD also, it has the look of either a zigzag or a flat. I mean, you can label it in two different ways. You can put the W, X, and then you can call a flat in the Y leg like this, okay, or you can simply label it as an ABC. There is divergence here, okay, and it could be in wave 4 now, and one more high to the blue box, 144, 145, 31 area. Can see sellers appearing, and then we can see the pair turning lower from there, okay. So pound dollar, like I said, finished 3 waves already. So unless it doesn't do 7 swings, it can start the next leg higher from here. We need to break this high to confirm the Y leg is underway, which can see 126.80 area or go as high as that, unless it truncates, okay, which it has a tendency to do. Remember what it did over here when it didn't reach the equal legs of the black W and X, okay, and also didn't reach the equal legs of red W and X and truncated in the 0.618, 0.764 extension area. All right, so unless it truncates, the break of this high will mean the Y leg higher towards 126.80 area has started in the pound. Of course, as far as this high is holding, it still has scope to do 7 swings lower. I don't like chasing the pound longs at this stage, to be completely honest, because the dollar is in bonus time. Anybody who did buy it intraday at this equal legs, put your stop to break even. If it does 7 swings, I mean, trust me, it can get tricky. Okay, we could need to check this pivot then, and I wouldn't recommend chasing the longs here at this stage, okay? If anybody bought it already, put your stop to break even and just let it go. All right, so that's what, we talked about the euro as well. Let's take a quick look at the dollar index. All right, so this is the dollar index 1 hour chart. Again, I mean, looks like the cycle has ended. Okay, so because of the pound, was short of 0.618 extension area yesterday, so we called 5 swings in the dollar and the euro, etc., and looks like they did manage to do that. All right, made a new high. The dollar did here with RSI divergence and now broke this RSI trend line, certainly indicating that we should be in the B wave. And now if we do break this short-term high here, okay, which is why I said the pound still can do 7 swings, or it can now test the lows and then do this, okay, if not 7 swings. But if the dollar breaks this high of the blue W, it can see 159, 187 area to finish the B wave and then make another push lower. Okay, so that's what we got in the dollar index. The same idea, if you take a look at the 4-hour chart, 119 is the key, the red 4. As far as price stays below there, we can make another leg lower because of the pound dollar, dollar sec, the euro CAD, okay, and then we should get the reaction high. Otherwise, there are enough number of swings in place here to call the cycle completed, okay. Keep that in mind. But if we do break this trend line, the one that you see here, 2-4 trend line, that would be a warning sign, okay, that we, we won't make another low, but until then, I believe it looks good to still make another push lower, which doesn't have to be that big, remember, because dollar SEK is not that far away from equal legs, Euro CAD is not that far away from equal legs, and also pound dollar again is not that far away from equal legs, and the pound is bullish in the crosses for one more leg at least, which means that the dollar might not drop that much against the other currencies, okay? So it could mainly be due to the pound. And then of course SEK, it doesn't need that much strength either to reach this equal legs lower in the dollar SEK, okay? So that's what we got in the dollar index 119 key here, okay, short term. We can see this area, that blue box, and then from there make a new low or pull back in 3 waves at least, All right, so that's what we got in the dollar group. Dollar SEK, as as I showed you, you can draw this trend line here. It should stay below here and reach this blue box ideally, or break this pivot at 119. Okay, so as far as it doesn't break that pivot, then basically it should still make another push low to this area, and then we can see buyers appearing over there and the pair can start bouncing, okay? Then we have the Norwegian krone. Okay, it's basically commodity currency, but as I showed you already, it's already at equal legs on this December 28 peak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, but this could be an ABC when it still needs a 4 and a 5, so it can go to 1.236, but it's in the inflection area already. However, I think it can see 829, 15 area, and then ideally should stay above 817.33 area and bounce minimum in 3 waves, which can take us back to the 50, 61 wave area of the decline from that peak over there, okay? So that's what we have in the Norwegian krone. EuroCAD, again, we're looking for equal legs from here, and this area should see sellers in the EuroCAD for new lows or a 3-way pullback. Of course, the X can do 7 swings depending on the rest of the market, but a 3-way pullback at least should happen from that blue box. There should be sellers waiting over there, and from there it can either go to new lows or minimum pullback in 3 waves at least. All right, so okay, pretty much is what we're looking at in the market right now. This is euro pound, okay, and ideally as far as bounces fell below this high, we should keep looking lower. Okay, it bounced nearly from the 0.618 extension. We should be looking lower towards 84.70, 84.15 area in the euro pound, and then if this pivot gives up, it will only do this and this. If this pivot keeps holding, it can do the double. So in other words, in my humble opinion, depending on if the dollar makes new highs from here, if it does, okay, then it is quite likely that the euro pound can do the double on the basis of the pound weakness, or otherwise it can just bounce in 3 waves if this pivot gives up and then do this, but at least 3-wave bounce should come from this area. This is what the 1-hour chart looks like. Okay, so it made a new low here, so it has either done a flat from here, a 124 Asian session low, or it did like a diagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, finished the B wave, and now it's turned lower again. Okay, didn't reach the 50 back. So one or the other, I think we should see more downside now against this high in the first degree. Still can do a double from here, in which case, if the pound does 7 swings lower over here in the X wave, then the euro pound can do the double and then find sellers intraday in this box. As far as this high stays intact, it should then drop from there or pull back in 3 waves at least. All right, so that's what we got about the euro pound. So anybody's got any questions so far that they would like to ask before we can move on and take a look at the next group? All right, okay, so there are no further questions. Then let's take a look now at the commodity currencies and the crosses. All right, they're also pretty clear, especially, you can see the pound Aussie, pound Kiwi, they're calling for another leg higher still. Okay, and because of that, we can get one more push up in the euro. Okay, so this is the pound Aussie, pretty much the same structure as the pound dollar, showing 5 swings from the low, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, short term you can see it pull back and is bouncing from equal legs. Okay, pound Kiwi is. Okay, so you can see that it is bouncing from the equal legs area. Looks like finish the 6th swing and start the 7th swing higher. Needs to, even if it does a double from here, needs to hold this level in order for it to go to this area, and that's where we can see the pound Kiwi selling either to new lows or at least a 3-way pullback to correct this cycle. All right, and it can then basically go to at least a 50, 61, 8 area. All right, so short term finish 3-way pullback and start the next leg higher. If it breaks this level, then it could be doing either a triple from the peak or a double, but needs to hold this level in order for it to reach this area and then turn lower to new lows or minimum 3-way back to correct the cycle from the W low. Okay, pound Aussie, we can see the same is pulled back from the 0.618, 0.764 extension area, and this could be your B wave already or just the first leg of the B wave. Needs to break this high to confirm we are already in the C leg towards 166.83, 67.88 area. Below here, it still can do the double correction in B wave, but as far as this pivot is holding, ideally should see 166.83 area to finish this cycle and then resume the decline for new lows or make a 3-way pullback at least like this, all right. So if we take a look at the 1-hour chart, This is what it looks like in the pound Aussie. Okay, so you can see that it, clearly this cycle ended. This pullback is the biggest one that you've seen since the move started from this low of 118. So certainly that cycle ended. Still can do a double in the B wave if it did the double now, which would be the case when the pound dollar does 7 swings lower, as I mentioned to you guys earlier. Okay, in that as pound still can do this, right? So that's why you gotta be careful. And now the pound Aussie in that case still can make another push low to 6401 area and then turn higher. So I mean, either it's done here, or if it does the double, then this will be the next area of interest, because remember, corrections always can change from 3 swings to 7 swings, but you did get the reaction after the first leg. This cycle ended. Of course, still can do the double, and if it does that, then this will be the next area of interest where the B wave can complete and we get the next leg higher. Just like I showed you in the case of the euro pound earlier, that if the pound does the double lower, euro pound can does the double to this area and then drop from there. So that area in the euro pound, that would be this one in the pound Aussie in case of the double. And in the case of the pound Kiwi, if we do get the double, then we'll be looking for 71.55 area before it can go to 74.70. Okay, so that's what we got in the pound commodity crosses. They certainly still can do a double from the highs in the B wave or the X wave in the case of pound Kiwi, but it did 3 swings lower already. Okay, however, 7 cannot be ruled out, and if it does 7, it will see 71.55, 71.22, and if it does another leg lower in the pound Aussie, then it will be looking for 6401, 6371 area. Okay, now if you talk about the Euro Aussie, clearly we know that it has ended this cycle. This one, here we broke the price trend line, as you guys can see. So clearly that cycle ended. There shouldn't be any doubt about that. And we can see the same thing here through the RSI as well, because it has broken above the RSI trend line. Okay, so if we now uh, basically zoom out in the Euro Aussie, we know, I mean, that it hasn't reached many different sets of equal legs in the daily chart, but especially from September 2016 peak over here, this is the latest cycle. So even from this peak back in May of 2016, we haven't reached equal legs, and then this peak back in September of 2016, we haven't reached equal legs. So whether I put the connector here or here, we still haven't reached equal legs. Okay, and swings wise, you got 1, 2, 3, a flat, running flat in the fourth swing, and then a new low to 5 swing, which means the swing sequence is bearish and incomplete against this level, and is calling for more downside as far as that high stays in place. So our strategy, of course, would be to sell the rallies here, this bounce in 3, 7, or 11 swings, looking for new lows in the Euro Aussie. Okay, so just like we don't want to sell the dollar at this stage, we'd rather stay long from equal legs through the dollar index or the dollar Swiss, okay, or looking to buy the dollar SEK here for three-way bounce at least, so on, or selling the Euro CAD there, right? And also getting back to the chart of the Euro Aussie. The Euro Aussie also should be good sell in the rallies. It can still make one more push lower in the X wave, right? But based on the Euro weakness a little bit and Aussie staying sideways, because remember Euro Pound also is calling for extension lower. So if we take a look at the Euro Aussie, it may have done a B wave flat in the middle. Okay, so A, B, C, B. Or of course, if it breaks a high, then your X ended here already, unless it's going to be an expanded flat or a triangle. But if it breaks a high, you call X completed over here. Until then, it still can make another push low to this area and then turn higher. Okay. But if it gets here, we don't like selling it here, of course, but if it gets here and then rallies, we would like to be sellers at the next set of equal legs in the Euro Aussie, with the only condition that the pivot at the blue exit remains intact. So as far as this pivot stays intact in the bounces, we should keep looking to sell the rallies in 3, 7 or 11 swings, and the next opportunity would be at the equal legs of the black W and X cycle. Okay, so in other words, even if the X is complete, you need to wait for this high to break before you can work out your equal legs area on the upside to sell. Okay, because the thing is, remember Euro Aussie, as I just showed you, it has 5 swings from here, from this May peak. That means calling one more leg lower against this peak of 1230, 1229. So if Euro Aussie is going to do this, Euro CAD certainly would have a chance to make a new low from that blue box, okay? Or of course, depending on speed and timing, if it holds the low, Euro Aussie reaches equal legs here, then in this wave 4 bounce of the Euro Aussie, Euro CAD can do 7 swings in the X wave, okay? But that is something for later on. You don't know how quick it's going to drop, but you do know that it should find sellers there and this cycle and then turn lower to new lows, or in 3 waves at least. But Euro Aussie is certainly calling for new lows as far as this pivot is holding, because it has 5 swings from here. Keep that in mind. Okay, so we would be looking to be sellers at the next set of equal legs in the Euro Aussie on the upside. Once this wave X is complete, you work out equal legs against the 1.618 extension. We would like to sell it looking lower for new lows or a 3-wave pullback at least. This is the dollar CAD. It's a bit it's one of those situations right now because we know Euro CAD needs one more swing up, right? Pound CAD is already at equal legs, so it can extend, maybe do a triple, but Euro CAD certainly hasn't reached equal legs from here, as we know, as I just showed you, right? And it has taken this pivot. That means we're still correcting the cycle. Of course, we've taken the price trend line clearly. And if I get rid of these, and clearly we have broken the RSI trend line as well. So we certainly are still correcting the cycle from the peak. This pivot gave up also in this rally here. Okay, so because of that, we know the CAD is not going to be that strong. CAD would be weak even with the last push up in the euro. So because of that, we're calling good morning, David. It certainly is. Thank you, my friend. Hope same with you. Okay, so we're calling X wave completed, but keep in mind, because it can now, let's say, go here, and when the dollar makes the last push lower, it can perhaps test the low, because remember Euro CAD will be calling more upside by then, so maybe dollar CAD doesn't make another low and can do something like this. For example, 7 swings in the red Y, or it still can do the double in the red X, in which case it will go here and then make another push lower to do the double in the red X. That won't change anything. As far as this low is in place, it should still be considered a red X wave pullback, and then later on make one more push higher and see how far it takes us. Okay, now at the same time, remember Norwegian krone is also like commodity currency and a bit oil driven, also like the dollar CAD, and is also sitting at equal legs. However, like I said, because of the SEK and the pound, okay, Norwegian still can do another 4 and a 5, which is why there is a chance that the dollar CAD can do the double here, like go here and then do the double instead of holding the low. That's a possibility, but let's see when this cycle ends how strongly it's going to react. But a double would be a possibility, okay, but at the same time there is a chance that it does not do the double because of the crosses, right? Because of the Euro CAD, Pound CAD crosses, etc. Okay, so that's what we got here in the dollar CAD. Talking about the Kiwi dollar, you can see it did make another high, yesterday. It certainly is in that stage now where the cycle is close to ending. Okay, another high still can be seen because it looks like 1, 2, 3 swings from this proposed wave for low. But keep in mind that we are labeling this as a diagonal, so it already has enough number of swings in place. Starting from this low, we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and that's what you need for a diagonal structure. All right. That Fed has enough number of swings in place to call wave A completed here. It could be done. But like I said yesterday, when price was here, I said I need to see this low breaking at 119 around 7113 area to suggest that the cycle from the low ended. Until then, it can extend one more leg to the upside. Okay, so it's still the same idea. It can still make another high as far as this low now stays in place at 120 around 7123 area. Okay, and the Aussie dollar pretty much the same idea. It looks to be drifting higher in the form of a diagonal. Momentum is severely lacking, but a lack of momentum doesn't mean that the cycle is over. Like I think it was Hamayu who asked me yesterday, and I said yes, we know there is severe lack of momentum here, but that doesn't automatically mean that the cycle has ended already. Okay, so it simply means that we could be working on a diagonal. We are in the final stages. You cannot be chasing strength here. Of course, not fading it either, rather buy the dollar through other instruments. Okay, but it certainly can make another high, and we had to see this low breaking to call the cycle completed. Okay, ideally this low should hold now, but more importantly this one. Until then, another high still can be seen in the pair to finish the cycle, and then either make new lows or pull back in 3 waves at least. All right, so that's what we got. In the Aussie dollar is in the final stages of finishing the cycle, and this wave 5 looks to be taking the form of a diagonal here, ending diagonal, which is a terminal structure and can result in the cycle ending from the lows and pair pulling back in 3 waves at least. Should take us back toward the fourth of like the degree here, but ideally we think it can see the 50, 61, 8 area of the move from the lows, which doesn't, have to be seen. But of course, if you're going to get a decent reaction in the dollar, certainly, we can expect to move back towards 50, 61, 8 area at least in the Aussie as well. Okay, so that's what we got in the commodity currencies and the crosses. Anybody has got any questions here before I can take a look at what's happening with the commodities themselves, gold, copper, silver, and oil? Okay, so if there are no further questions, then let's just bear with me and let me open the charts here for gold, copper, silver, and oil, in which we have a very clear strategy. Okay, we like buying the dips in the likes of copper and oil. Oil, I think, is better if you do still get the double correction. Okay. All right, just bear with me for a second, please. Right. So I think we made a new high in gold also yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. This is 1218.90 and this is 1220. So you can see it did finally manage to make a new high. Okay, and now against this level, we can still see one more push up in the gold to complete 11 swing, because it looks like this is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 swings. So again, this low certainly looks like we can see one more swing up in gold, which can be the last push lower in the dollar. This is the 50, 61, 85 area here in gold. From this 11, I think 9 peak, and then it should pull back in 3 waves at least after that. Okay, silver, we're still leaving it, or the possibility of another low open in silver, all right? The reason being that, of course, we know gold has already reached equal legs from the July 2016 peak, but silver hasn't done that yet, and that's the reason why we have left the door open for another low in silver still, which can happen during this pullback in the of gold. Okay, or worst case scenario, if silver doesn't make another low, okay, then you can put the B here and call the cycle completed over here, because you already can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, but of course it did not reach the equal legs extreme from this July peak. Equal legs of the blue W and X, which is why obviously we are still leaving the door open for another low. Let's see how it's going to react after ending the cycle. So either a new low should pull back in 3 waves at least. Okay. All right. So this is copper. Again, we do not like the selling. We like the long side in copper against this pivot in the first degree. In other words, when it finishes the X wave, if it drops, it should find buyers at equal legs of red W and X, provided the pivot over here, it stays intact. If this pivot at the black wave for low, it gives up, right, then it can go to 242.3 to 35 for area to do a double correction in wave 4 and then find buyers over there again. Okay, so that's what we like in copper. Crude oil, I think, again, clearly doesn't need too much explanation. We have done it many times. The daily sequence is bullish, is calling for more upside. So we are only looking to buy dips in crude. We don't like selling the rallies. So we'll like to keep buying the dips in 3, 7, or 11 swings. Okay. So oil, as we know, there are 5 swings here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it should, after pullback, go to 65, 16, 71, 29 area. And this blue X is viewed as a buying opportunity. I mean, there is already 3 swings down from this peak, but it's a bit shallow. Okay, I mean, even compared to this pullback here that we had back in April, starting from middle of March or third week of March going to the first week of April, right? It's even shallower than that. And secondly, we know that the dollar is an extreme area, and even it can make another low still. It should bounce after that. So that's why we think that the crude can do the double, and that should be a gift to buy. Okay, so just like crude oil bounced perfectly over here after reaching equal legs from the peak, we can see that, right, the black W and X cycle. So similarly, it will be reaching another set of equal legs here from this low. Okay, so it will be reaching another set of equal legs from this low here of 110, which is around 53.70, 54.36, 1.618 extension is just above the previous peak. So which means as far as this peak here around 55.25, the blue W peak, it stays intact. Oil, because of the positioning of the dollar or where it is right now, the stage of the dollar, right, that it's in a bonus time ending cycle from December 15 and should bounce in 3 waves at least. We believe as far as this high is in place, that bounce in the dollar, even if it only bounces in 3 waves, doesn't make a new high, that can still produce another leg lower in oil, and that can offer us a good buying opportunity to position long, okay, for a move higher towards 65, 16, 71, 29 area. It can turn out to be a pretty good risk to reward ratio as well. Ideally, we should hold this trend line, okay, but you don't need to worry about that. You just work with the equal legs to buy. So from there, again, we don't like the selling from this equal legs. This short-term equal legs are referred to, but that's an area from where certainly it can make another push lower. And if it does, then we like to be buyers in the instrument in at the next set of equal legs, just like it was bought here, okay, at equal legs down from 1.3. Similarly, when it does this, okay, that's then we will be looking to buy at the next set of equal legs wherever that comes. So let's say if X finishes here at 54.18, then your equal legs area would be this one, where we would like to buy, looking for the new highs to this area, or minimum worst it can do is from there bounce in 3 waves and then do 7 swings in the blue X. So that's the worst it can do, but you keep buying it, okay, at the at inflection equal legs inflection areas, and as soon as you get the reaction, price reaches 50 back of the decline from red X peak, you get into a risk-free position. Okay, so that's what we like in the commodities and the metals. So anyone has any questions so far, please let me know. Otherwise, we can move on and take a look at the yen pairs and indices. Okay, so let me close these charts here so we can take a look at what's going on with the yen pairs and indices. Okay, so this is the dollar yen. If you guys recall, as we said in the weekend seminar, and yesterday also we were talking about it, that if as the pound had taken the high already of the red W, so there was a good chance that the dollar yen, unless the pound reacted strongly lower in the sixth swing, okay, then there was a chance that the what do you call it, the dollar yen can hold this low in the bounce and still make another leg lower. Okay, it looks like we have done 5 waves from here, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so another push lower in the dollar yen still can be seen. It is now a triple three structure. Doesn't look, this kind of was too big to be wave 4 of C, which is why we're going with the triple three. And if you take a look here, all right, we already reached the equal W, and then if you go with the Y leg, the next equal legs is a bit lower at 110.64, which is why the dollar yen becomes a bit tricky now, okay, to buy, to be honest. But over as far as this pivot is holding, can either make a new high, or after ending this cycle, the dollar yen, if the indices reach equal legs in the bounce, and the dollar yen can get here, bounce 3 waves, and then start correcting the entire cycle from the lows. Okay, but looks like against 119, dollar yen number one can make another low and then finish the cycle and either make a new high or bounce in 3 waves at least. Okay, pound yen, we believe we're not calling for another extension lower in the pound yen, because clearly because of pound strength, it has been well supported. It has been staying at the highs, and we still are expecting this low to hold in the pullback after 3, 7 or 11 swings, and then pound to turn higher, because all the dollar yen and the dollar need is a bounce to hold 119, one more push lower, which means pound yen maybe maximum it can do is do 7 swings from here within the red wave 2. In other words, if we go to the 1-hour chart, okay, that the pound yen, let's say, reaches this equal legs box here at 140.67, 139.79, and from here, instead of making new highs, it can do this and do 7 swings because, by then the dollar yen would have reached equal legs and the yen will also be weak after that, and that can further support the pound yen. So that's what the pound yen can do maximum, that instead of finishing in this blue box, it bounces and this then becomes the black W, the black X, and the red 2 goes here. So that's the maximum it can do, I think. Because of the stage of the dollar yen shouldn't drop too much. A maximum will do one more swing lower against this high. Okay. 5 means, of course, it was a flat here and we took the low as well, and that's why the pound yen, we think, it has plenty separation to hold the low, and the maximum it can do is that do 7 swings from this peak here. Okay, now the euro yen, we're calling for another leg lower still. It's also a bit of an ugly structure. We're calling a 333 here, right, because of the flat in the middle, or it could simply be a 333 as well. That doesn't change much. Okay, because if I put the W here, because these peaks were so close to the previous peak that it doesn't make too much difference if I label this as a W or a Y. Okay, in either case, even if I put the W here instead of a Y, we still reach the 0.618 extension here for the euro yen. Okay, and it could be in the X wave now, or maybe done already, and now do this. Okay, so even if I put the W here instead of a Y, because this peak was so close to this one, it still won't make a difference. But in the last push lower of the dollar yen, euro yen can see this area and then bounce either for new highs or in 3 waves at least. All right. Then we have the Aussie yen. Aussie yen is a bit tricky right now. If you guys recall, I said yesterday that if the Aussie yen fails in the bounce, okay, and breaks this low, then that would mean that this cycle ended and we are correcting this entire cycle here. Okay, so this is what we're presenting in the Aussie yen, but there is a possibility that the W ended here already and we are in the X wave now instead of still within the W. Okay, so that's a possibility, and we can get a full test of the low in the Aussie yen, or in the very worst case scenario, as Aussie will soon end the cycle and turn lower, get weak. So in the very worst case scenario, it still can do the double from the peak there and reach 83.22, which looks a bit too far away right now. Okay, considering we only need one more push lower in the dollar yen. So we're not going to call for that as far as this pivot is holding. Okay, and but we will look for extension lower within the red wave X. Another possibility is that this is your W and X already, and you're going to extend lower here in the X wave with the dollar yen making the next push lower. Okay, and then that can take it to about 84, 83, 83, 94 area. That's another possibility in the Aussie yen. It's a bit of an ugly structure here. If you guys recall, just like I said, this high came without RSI divergence, so we had to be careful and not chase or not try to buy this dip here. Okay, so that's why just a bit of an ugly structure in this leg as well. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swings in the shorter cycles. Right, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then ideally should do 7 swings here. Okay, like I said. And of course the low also came with divergence, so that's why it can do this. Another thing it can do is it can do like extend within the cycle, like this is your W and X already, and it can do this and finish here, or do a W, X, Y, X, Z and do a full test of the low. That's another thing it can do. But we'll be calling it as an X wave as far as this pivot is holding, but as it hasn't taken this peak yet, so it becomes a range, and there is no extreme to be traded here. That's why it's better to stay away from Aussie yen for now. But the euro yen, it should see buyers here for new highs or a three-way bounce at least. Pound yen also expecting it to hold the low and turn higher. Okay, it should finish 3 waves in this box, and from here turn up. This could be 2, or bounce in X wave and do 7 swings in the red wave 2. Dollar yen against this high, it has scope to make one more push lower before new highs or a 3-way bounce at least. CAD yen is in the inflection area already. Okay, and if just bear with me for a second. Right. So CAD-yen, like I said, it is already in the inflection area. Okay. I do think the maximum it can see is another leg lower, and we're expecting it to stay within the blue box. Okay. Ideally, remember it's if it's a flat, wave C sometimes can go close to 1.618 extension or even exceed that sometimes. But looks like it would be able to stay within the blue box, end this cycle, and then either make a new high or at least get back to this area and then do the double in the blue wave X. Okay, so that's what you're looking at in the CAD-yen. Another possibility is that this is your 3 and you're in the 4 now, and still your 5 equals 1 is not that low. It can take you to, let's say, if you go to 85.67, it will take you to 84.22, still keeps you within the blue box. Okay, so this cycle should end, and we should then, because this bounce here was too shallow to be a correction of this entire cycle, which is why, or even the correction of this entire cycle, which is why we do believe that we are still in the same cycle from here, and we should finish in the blue box and then turn up, make new highs, or bounce in 3 waves at least. All right, so that's what we got in the yen pairs. And moving on, taking a look at the indices. All right, FTSE still short of equal legs. This is the buying area in the FTSE, of course, as provided we make another low before breaking this pivot, because keep in mind, if we break this pivot, then things will get a bit complicated in the FTSE. In that case, this could become your W, and then let's say if it goes here, for instance, I'm not saying it would, but if for instance it goes there and then breaks this low, then you will not buy at 71.16, because then this will not be your equal legs on the peak. In that case, this can become your W here. This can become your X, and then you will have to work out the new set of equal legs on the downside to buy, okay? So then it will be shifted low towards 70.16 area, or will depend on wherever it ends. But as of right now, if it drops from current levels, we still can treat it as part of the same cycle from the peak of the red A, and it would be looking to buy here in this equal legs area, and from here it can make new highs or bounce in 3 waves at least. But this is a buying area in the FTSE. Okay, as far as this pivot is holding here, and from here we make new highs or 3-wave bounce at least, provided, of course, remember, this pivot doesn't give up. If it gives up, that means the cycle ended, and after that, if we go on to make a new low, then that would, then you'll have to rework out your equal legs like this instead of just going with this one. As of right now, it looks okay, and we would still like to buy here in this equal legs if reached. We don't like the selling, and from there we either make new highs or we bounce in 3 waves at least, and those new highs, they can take us to this area over here. Okay, so looking for 76.23 then after that. Right, then you got the Nikkei, a very interesting situation, okay, because keep in mind the reason why we call the double in the Nikkei is the dollar yen, which took the low already, and because of that we think the Nikkei also can, but Nikkei has the tendency to play games. All right, so I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't break the low, so don't try and sell it, okay? And or maybe it makes a new low but then truncates, doesn't reach equal legs, so it can get it can do those things, so keep them in mind. All right, so as of right now it can do this. This cycle looks to have ended without reaching 0.618 extension. Now, like I said, as wave A didn't reach 0.618 extension either, we are still in the fifth swing of the like the blue 4, like in the W black of the red Y. In other words, do something like this, bounce, and then do another 3 swings lower, or we can just make another push lower, which may or may not reach equal legs and could, let's say, truncate as well by only reaching equal legs of the black AB but not reaching equal legs of the red W and X. Okay, so Nikkei can do those things, so you're calling another low here only because the dollar yen took the low, right? This is EBEX. You can put 3 and 4 here, or if you want to make it look better, you can put 3 and 4 here. In the 1 hour we have 3 here, 4 here, but either way, it still can make another push lower with the last push lower in the dollar, and then it should turn up, make new highs, or bounce in 3 waves at least. So this is what I mean. If you take a look at the 1 hour chart, Okay, so I mean, instead of calling this to be the blue X, you can put the 3 here and call this the 4. It's going to be the same thing. Okay, you can do it like this also. That's what the 4-hour is saying. And you're still looking for one more low. It won't change too much. Okay, so you can label it like this as well. That's the 4-hour labeling. I wouldn't change too much. You'd need another low. Okay, ideally against 119, 120 highs over here. Ideally should not break that level. And against that, we can see one more push lower and then turn up. Okay, should see buyers after the next low. And then talking about the DAX. Okay, DAX is pretty interesting. It offered a buying opportunity here last week on 117 and another one yesterday. They should both be risk-free right now. If it makes another dip, we still like the buying. We are still showing one more dip, right? That this dip over here. So it found buyers here in this area at the equal legs 1.236 extension area of the blue AB. Okay, and now it's looking for another bounce here, right? And then after that it can see this. So if you guys are long from this equal legs 1.236 extension area, you should be risk-free already. In the DAX, if you're long from here, you should be risk-free. Against this high, what makes sense is DAX doing 7 swings in wave 2. And if it does that, it should still find buyers at the next set of equal legs, which of course will depend on where X finishes. If you test the trend line, then it could be around 11,475. And if you don't make one more high, and then drop from here, then it will be at 11,470. However, this does look like 5 waves, so ideally should make one more push up before dropping and then should see buyers in the next set of equal legs. All right. Now talking about the Dow and the S&P. Okay, TNX, same idea. As far as this low holds, we'll be calling it higher if this level breaks. It can do the double and go to 218, 7 to 11 area before turning higher again. Now getting to the Dow, okay, another low, it will complete the flat and then it can turn higher. If anybody is long from the equal legs on the red B peak, you guys stay long but get free because it can make another low still. Ideally it will. And if you take a look at the S&P 500, doesn't look like a triangle anymore, which means that it can do the double from this peak. It hasn't broken this low yet. The bounce yesterday came from 0.764 extension of the first leg down here, which means ideally it will, bounce, fail, and see 2251, 2245 area, and then turn higher again. Okay, so if you take a look at the 1-hour charts for these two instruments, okay, so we can see that it should be in the, it could be in the X wave in red. It can do this. It's already near the 50 back, and then from there can make another push lower still. So, like the buying here last week in the S&P, ES, etc. Stayed long from there. I don't know why it's a little bit lower. Maybe they changed the data. I did show equal legs previously. And okay, we should be long from there and risk-free if it makes another low. This is the next buying area, 2251, 2245, from where we can make new highs or bounce in 3 waves again. And as soon as price reaches 50 back of the decline from blue X peak, you get into a risk-free position. Okay. Dow, same idea. I mean, if it breaks this high, you're still in the 4, and then needs to break this, hold this high, that the black 2, to make one more push lower, otherwise it could be negated. But if it's a flat, because of the marginal new high, we only got 3 swings from the peak so far, and another low with divergence will be perfect to complete the C wave diagonal, and hence the flat blue wave X, Okay, now if we take a look at the ES chart, Okay, so we did reach equal legs here from this peak of the blue X. As you can see, perfect bounce in equal legs. So it should have finished this thing here, the red W, and we should be in the red X now. Okay. And if I put up the 0.618, 0.764 extensions here, you'll see that we bounced from the 0.764 extension. Right, and now again, if you're long from here, we haven't broken this low yet. Okay, so we like staying long from 2250. Should be risk-free because there is no guarantee it will do this. It does look likely that it will do the double because you have broken this price trend line here, you can see. And if you take a look at the RSI trend line, this one is not broken yet. This is still holding, but the price trend line is broken. So it could, still get sideways. Okay, it doesn't have to do the double, which is why if you're long from here, you stay long, okay, from this equal legs area with the stop at break even. If it does make another push lower, we do like the buying here, the 2245, 2238 area against this 1.618 extension, looking for new highs or a three-way bounce at least, okay? So that's what we got in basically the indices. And with this, I think we pretty much covered all the groups, okay? And everything is very clear. Against 119, you can get another extension lower in the dollar, and indices sideways to lower, one more push lower in the yen pairs, and higher in the dollar pairs. Then the cycle ends. If the 119 pivot gives up, that would mean that the cycle from the December highs and lows ended already, okay? So that's pretty much the idea. Anybody's got any final questions that they would like to ask before we end the session? You're welcome, David. Thank you very much. You too have a great day. So if there are no further questions, then let's end the session here. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. And the recording should be ready approximately in half an hour's time from now. Thank you, Panos. You too. And take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.